Welcome to this episode of the story. Subscribe as soon as possible. Chapter 10, The Eternal Fire, the Cornerstone of Mont St. Michel Cathedral. In the quarry outside Rome, the Christian Lydia was chained beside the memory furnace. She watched as her reflection distorted in the boiling memory fluid, in which countless white flocculent substances floated. These were the memories of believers harvested over the past 3 months. The 300th soul, with a fear concentration of 87%, the voice of the church deacon came from behind the metal mask. He inserted the memory scythe into Lydia's temple. For the stability of the star chart, your pain will become the eternal cornerstone. Lydia screamed and dropped to her knees. The scene from 3 days ago flashed before her eyes. She was distributing pamphlets of the memory gospel in the market when suddenly, memory guards dragged her into the basement and forced her to watch false memories of herself betraying the church. In reality, she was just a scribe eager to convey the truth through words. Remember, her fear memories must be preserved intact. The voice of High Priest Octavian came from above. Lydia looked up and saw the church leader looking down at her. The memory thread wings peeking out from under his black robe were covered in blood. The eternal fire requires the purest hope memories, but fear memories are the rebar that stabilizes the cornerstone. Amid the rumbling of the tidal memory furnace, Lydia's memories were extracted into blue smoke and injected into the church cornerstone being poured. The last thing she saw was the crying of her baby in swaddling clothes as it was taken away by the church. The baby, whom the church called a pure soul, had a gear-shaped mark on the nape of the neck, identical to hers. 5 years later, at the inauguration ceremony of Mont St. Michel Cathedral, the Pope placed his hand on the eternal fire in the center of the church. The moment the flames rose, the same image simultaneously emerged in the minds of all believers. The Queen of Atlantis kneeling in front of the star chart device, and the church's pioneers harvesting her consciousness with memory scythes. This was the new sacred memory implanted by the church. This fire burns the original sin of humanity, and your happy memories will become the fuel to purify the world. The Pope's voice spread throughout the venue through memory resonance. The believers, wearing empty smiles, allowed church agents to extract golden memory glows from their temples. Aiden's pendant suddenly grew hot. She witnessed this scene on the monitoring screen in the memory graveyard. The blood-written word Delta Omega G Omicron Nu on her wrist glowed faintly, resonating with the memory remnants in the church cornerstone. She knew that the painful memories poured into the stones were forming a corrosive memory plague underground. "Look at this," Raven said, pulling up an encrypted video. In the footage, the young Nero was wandering in the basement of the memory cathedral. The church is cultivating a memory plague in the cornerstones, and the collective madness of the Roman nobles is just an early symptom of this plague. In the video, Nero slid his arm in front of the mirror and saw the star chart symbols of Atlantis in the wound. In a panic, he slashed at the mirror with a memory scythe, only to see countless versions of himself in the fragments. Each reflection was dressed in the clothing of a different era, with numbers from 001 to 78 printed on the nape of the neck. These cornerstones are not just building materials. They're the church's memory batteries. Another feather fell from Raven's scarf, revealing a newly added burn scar. Each stone imprisons the soul of a rebel, and their painful memories are used to maintain the stability of the star chart. Aiden clenched the pendant. The moment the judgment mode was activated, she was transported to the night Atlantis sank. In the Queen's memory, the church's pioneers were using the same method to inject the memories of Atlantean citizens into the temple cornerstones. When she returned to reality, she found that the same patterns as on the cornerstone appeared on the back of her hand. "They're repeating history," Aiden's voice trembled. "Every memory cathedral is a memory prison, and our ancestors have long been turned into building materials." At the same time, in the sewers of Rome, a man wearing a raven mask was collecting samples of the memory plague. Half a pendant was exposed at the edge of his scarf, which was exactly the memory fragment remaining in the ashes of the Sibylline books 300 years ago. When he touched the wall, the memory residue of Lydia before her execution emerged in the coal dust. Under the third stone slab under the altar, there lies the key to unlock the memory furnace. Octavian, overlooking the city from the top of the cathedral, suddenly felt dizzy. He saw countless faces emerging in the flames of the eternal fire. The harvested memories were backlashing against the church. When he looked down, he found that his palm was starting to become transparent, with blue memory fluid flowing under the skin, the early symptom of the memory plague. Activate the memory purification program. He roared into the communicator, only to find that his voice had turned into Lydia's wail. The stained glass windows of the cathedral suddenly burst, and the projection of real history replaced the church's sacred memory history. Noah's Ark was filled with memory storage tanks, and the flood submerged the tribes that refused to obey. The crown of thorns on the crucifixion statue of Jesus pierced not flesh, but the imprisoned consciousness of rebels. Seeing this in the memory graveyard, Aiden knew it was time. She took out the bronze fragment left by Archimedes. The value of pi on it resonated with the 79 etching at the bottom of the pendant. The memory hearse in the distance automatically opened its door, and the movie ticket stub from the Millennium floated into her palm. The countdown sound was mixed with Lydia's last murmur, "Use my pain to burn through their hypocrisy." When the church's memory guards broke into the graveyard, Aiden had already disappeared. All they saw was a formula written in memory tears on the ground, a detonation command written in pi and Atlantean. In the center of Rome, the cornerstones of Mont Saint Michel Cathedral were oozing blue memory tears, each drop reflecting a tampered with life. Nero was frantically smearing the walls in the palace. He wrote symbols with his own blood that only the Queen of Atlantis could understand. When the guards broke in, what they saw was not the ravings of a mad king, but the deconstruction formula of the star chart, the secret that Lydia had protected with her life, and the truth the church feared the most. The eternal fire is about to go out, Aiden's voice rang out in the memory resonance. Cracks in the cathedral appeared on the retinas of every Roman citizen. And your memories are the real light that illuminates the darkness. Octavian watched his arm gradually become transparent and finally understood the ultimate mistake the church had made. They thought fear memories were the most stable cornerstone, but they didn't know that when countless pains converged, they would eventually form a memory plague that devoured everything. The dome of the cathedral began to collapse. The fuel of the eternal fire turned out to be the church's own lies. Amid the terrified screams of the believers, Aiden's pendant sliced through time and space and landed in the core of the memory furnace. There slept the 12th fragment of Cassandra's consciousness, along with the last warning left by the Queen of Atlantis. When the church builds walls with pain, they are doomed to be buried by their own atrocities. This episode ends here. The next episode will be even more exciting. Come and subscribe.